Hello, my name is Keegan Blizzard, and today for my presentation I will be discussing should school times be longer. This argument comes from the 3.7 section from the Taking Sides textbook, and it presents the argument whether or not should school times be longer. So should we increase the hours in a school day? In this presentation, I will show both sides of the argument, but mostly focus on the side that school time should be longer, as I feel that this argument has more grounds and more proof that it could be beneficial for schools. So, as things change, some say they stay the same. As the world around us is constantly changing, our expectations on how to effectively conduct our daily routines has risen, as we have typically over the years come to expect things to be done quickly and efficiently. In the United States, many things from years ago are vastly different than what they used to be, such as the jobs we work and the technology we use. One aspect of American society that has not changed very much over the years is our educational system, as American children today still go to school on the same routine schedules as students from decades ago. So, on this slide, I am discussing why has the school system changed very little. So, compared to other things like, for example, jobs, usually the schedule for work had stayed consistent for a long time, but over the years it has changed on how work can be done. But in the case of school systems, very little in way has changed. And one of the main topics of interest for many people is how can we make schools better? How can we improve the learning experience? And many complain that the American school system is failing. Many feel that we do not learn enough, or that what we learn is not important, and that what we do learn is not elaborated enough. Many people feel that we are not learning very well. A longer school day could fix this, giving teachers more time to explain and to discuss topics that will help students learn better, as I will show in these arguments coming up. The arguments for more time. The main argument about school times is that many think that the current time schedules that American students use is not enough to help struggling students in becoming invested, and that by adding more time to the school day, the more successful these students will become. There is also the fact that more time in the school day means more time spent on learning and elaborating on subjects that can be somewhat rushed through by teachers that are attempting to stay on a short schedule. A longer school time means a teacher can plan a more fulfilling class schedule. This changed schedule could become a collaborative effort between students, teachers, and even parents, as the more flexible schedules can be made. Because school would be moving away from the old system, that means that each group can help each other build this new schedule and meet everyone's desires for a better educational system. So on this slide, I present 3 different arguments that I will elaborate in the next slides about how will a longer school time fix a lot of the issues with the educational system. The 3 main arguments are: a longer school time can help struggling students, a longer school time gives teachers more time to elaborate on things, and to go into more detail and even discuss more in the classroom. And 3, that this new schedule can become more of a collaborative effort between students, teachers, and parents, rather than something that the school makes and that everybody is forced to work their schedules around. It would rather be a schedule that they would make. So, struggling students. In Taking Sides, in 3.7 of the text, explains the most compelling initial target for expanding learning time are middle grade students in high poverty schools. All too often, children who come from higher poverty schools struggle to become invested in their schoolwork. The short school day gives teachers little time to personally work with and help those who are having trouble. A longer school day would allow a more personalized education in which those who are struggling can have the extra time to be more focused on and aided in areas they need more clarification in. So, the main concern with a short school day is that those who are struggling are not getting the time that they need to be focused on in order to be helped. Let's take a history class, for example. Because of the shorter school day, teachers often have to gloss over a lot of historical events or things like that in order to just move on. Many students might get confused or left behind, but they ain't got the time to ask questions or ask the teacher for an elaboration. A longer school day means that these students can be found easier and that these discussions will open up between teachers and students on what they are struggling on. It gives them more time to realize that, hey, I'm having trouble and I can't dig myself out of it. Rather than the teacher feeling like the person that is putting them on the strict schedule, they will be working together on a longer schedule that will allow them to be able to discuss and talk with their teacher about what's bothering them. Extra time, extra learning. The most obvious benefit of a longer school day is the increased time for learning. A longer day means more subjects can be covered in a course, and less sections of the curriculum have to be glossed over to stay on time. While many students at first are not thrilled when they first think of a longer school day, many find that the extra time helps them enjoy school more as they can retain information better. More time means longer classroom discussions and freedom to ask more questions about subjects that confuse them. As the text 3.7 explains, students are often initially skeptical when they hear about expanded learning time, but once they experience it, many students are pleased with the far greater opportunities for enrichment and engagement. They also notice that their teachers have more time to support them and that their achievement typically improves. So, one of the main issues with the shorter school day is these tight schedules. Many teachers would most likely love to have better in-class discussions, but because that they have to meet a curriculum requirement, many of them have to gloss over things. However, a longer school day will begin to relax the classroom. It will give them more time to discuss subjects and cover new subjects that many of them would have to skip over because many teachers have to meet a requirement for their students, such as you have to memorize this by the end of the week for the test. You have to memorize this for the month for the monthly test. You have to memorize this for the big test at the end of the year. This shorter school day makes it feel as though a lot of what we learn in class is for memorization rather than actually learning. There is a difference. A longer school day will be able to change this from a memorization class to a learning class, because people learn best when there's more discussions, when they can become more involved, more engaged, rather than being told, memorize this, it will be on the test. Better schedules. With longer school days comes with the planning of new schedules that can now include more extensive classroom activities. Because these schedules would be new to everyone, there can be more inclusion of parents and students alike to help everyone become adjusted. Parents of younger students especially can be pleased by a longer school day because this can help them fit in seeing their children when they come home, as parents are often still at their 9-to-5 jobs by the time the normal school day ends. As Grand Canyon University explains, many parents are forced to work fewer hours because they cannot afford additional childcare. The scheduling problems and financial worries that come from a short school day could be remedied with an 8-hour school day during working hours. So, many parents' solutions to where when they're working and they can't come home and see their children when they come home from school is to hire somebody. But remember, one of the main targets of a longer school day is for those higher poverty schools and neighborhoods that can't afford things like this. Many parents have issues with paying someone to watch over their child when they get home, especially these young children. Many of these students are forced to take care of themselves when they get home because many of their parents are working hard to provide for their family that's already struggling. So a shorter school day in turn just puts more stress on these students and these families. However, a longer school day will mean a more flexibility schedule. Remember, a new school schedule would mean that the whole community would have something to agree on. It would rather become less of the school telling the students and parents that this is the schedule. It will be more of asking the students and parents what would they like for this new schedule. And having this more collaborative effort would mean overall a better experience for everybody. The schools can still have their schedule, work times, and everything, and the students and parents can have more leeway in terms of, okay, this is how our schedules are with work and other things. We can fit this all in with a longer school day. The movements for longer school times. With many seeing the possible benefits to longer school days, there are some states that have already began to experiment with the idea of having their schools staying open longer to see the improvements in their educational systems. There are also national programs that encourage states to consider experimenting with longer school days. One of these programs is called the Time Collaborative. As Public School Review explains, the 3-year initiative will involve 40 schools in the states Colorado, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Tennessee. Each school will be responsible for adding the additional 300 hours daily classroom time and a number of days on the school calendar. So, many people are beginning to push for a longer school time. As I said, there have been many to notice the benefits that can come to their school if the time is longer. And as the states, many states are considering enforcing this in their states, like with the experimental group for the Time Collaborative with 40 schools. Even presidents during the Obama administration advocated for longer school times, even a year-long school, to not only help students get through school longer or faster, but increase the time of the day so that more students can learn more and get more from their classes. Opposition to longer school days. There are those that are opposed to a longer school day who make arguments that mostly focus on the difficulties of the transition from one system to another. One of the main arguments is that the cost of longer school days. Longer school days would mean paying teachers and staff more, money spent on the school building upkeep, and if the school is year-long, the expenses that come with air conditioning during the summer months. Another argument is that there has been little in way of research that longer school days are the actual exact correlation with better academic performance. Many ask whether it's the school day or if it's actually other aspects such as the teachers themselves or the students. So the opposition mostly says that it would be expensive and that there's no real evidence that it is the longer school day. Though, as I've previously discussed, a longer school day does have some obvious benefits, such as more being discussed. Plus, giving teachers more leeway means that teachers can try new things to help them teach their students. And as for the price issue, many would believe that it would help to ask the government for help. Having such as, like I said, the Obama administration back when they was in the presidency advocating for it, with many presidential candidates advocating to help schools, it would be an easier effort to ask them for help in terms of making schools better. Not only that, this would help those poverty-stricken schools to improve themselves with better funding. Final word. Even with the opposition, it is becoming clear to many that a longer school day can be very beneficial to schools who want to see the improvement of the academic performance in their students. With a common complaint with modern education being that it is not enough to prepare students for life after public school, longer school hours can help make their times in public school a more fulfilling and intellectually stimulating experience. So, overall, I feel that a longer school day will allow for more, just to give more to these students. Many feel that the main argument is that school is not enough. It is not giving enough. They are not learning enough. It is not enough. Well, a longer school day would allow more to be there, more learning, more time to talking about things, a more relaxed classroom, more questions asked. I feel that a longer school day, more reminiscent of something new rather than just following the age-old tradition of how it has been for decades. I feel like it would add more to the school experience and would generally improve things. Here are my sources, and thank you for listening to my presentation.